All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Larry Foreman, also known as the DUI Guy Plus on YouTube. I've been asked to make this video for the young minds of our nation, and not just the young minds. Really, anybody can watch this video, whether you are 14 years old, 16 years old, 25 years old, or 80 years old, and simply want to learn about what to do and what not to do in a traffic stop or general interactions with the police. Okay. So, um, first and foremost, who am I? I am a private attorney. What does that mean? That means I don't work for the government. I work for you. Okay. I get hired by private people who pay me to represent them in court, either myself or my team. So I've been doing this for over a decade. I've been practicing law, specifically criminal defense, and even more specifically with a specialization in DUI, that is driving under the influence work. Different states have different names for it. DUII, OUI, OVI, OWI, DWI, they're all exactly the same charge, just a different name. So I have over a decade of experience dealing with, cross examining, listening to, and investigating traffic stops, arrests, and dealing with judges and prosecutors in court with these types of cases, including roadside arrests, roadside tests leading to arrests, as well as DUI checkpoints. So I like to begin by saying the best way to avoid an interaction with the police is what? Follow the law, right? Doesn't take a rocket scientist. If you simply follow the law, you are not going to have any issues. Now, if you are violating the law, by God, do not commit another law violation. For example, if you are operating a motor vehicle under the influence, which you should not be doing, don't add to it a speeding violation, because the more you stack the deck, the more likely you are to get caught. Now, this is not a manual on how to avoid getting caught. This is a manual on how, God forbid, if you are ever in a situation where you have to deal with police, this is what you should do. This is not legal advice, but it is coming from a professional who has been doing this for over a decade. Now, um, first and foremost, and this is the most important piece of this entire video, the police are not your friend. They will pretend to be your friend. They will lie to your face. They will try and get you to confess. They will try and get you to admit to certain things, but they are not your friend. Remember this acronym, STOP, stop talking onto police. Easy. As soon as you see a police officer, the first thing in your mind should pop in this acronym, stop. Stop talking onto police. Do not engage. Do not interact. Do not give them any information, because anything you can and say and do will be used against you in court. No questions about it. Now, young minds, I completely understand that this may run completely contrary and contradictory to what you have been taught your entire life. Well, police are authority. Police are, I have to respect authority, just like my parents taught me. I need to respect my parents. I need to respect police. I am not telling you to disrespect the government. That is not what I am saying. By simply not engaging and refusing to interact, you are not disrespecting them. You are protecting your rights. Now, you can do so in a very respectful manner. For example, officer, I respectfully refuse to answer any questions until my lawyer is present, or until my parent is present, and your parent will probably consult with and or bring a lawyer. So remember, just because you want to trust and believe authority, which those two are very, very dangerous uh, territories to venture into, doesn't mean you have to be a blind idiot. Respect authority, but you don't have to comply and obey. Those are the important pieces that you have to take away from this video. Because police use certain traps, okay? They try to be your friend. They'll massage the conversation into like, look, just tell us what happened. Just tell us what you did. Everything is going to be fine. And that, my friends, is a lie. They are not your friend. They are not there to help you. They are there to get confessions. They're there to convict you. They're there to arrest you, first and foremost, and then convict you, okay? So remember, as soon as you see those blue lights behind you, okay, that is where you can already envision you are being recorded. You are on camera. You are being watched by more than one set of eyes. And this video, be prepared, will be used against you and will be seen by prosecutors, by judges, by criminal defense attorneys such as myself. It will be reviewed by police officers, either the ones who are going to be testifying or other ones who may be called in as expert witnesses or just other types of expert witnesses on the case. So as soon as you see those blue lights and you're driving around, whatever you may have done, the first thing you need to do is, again, remember, I'm being recorded. Everything I'm doing is now being watched, and pull over as safely and as reasonably quickly as possible. Sometimes you can't pull over quickly. There may be guardrails, there may be a cliff overhanging, there may be no room, especially if it's a country road. Find a safe place to stop. Now, if the police officer decides to give you any lip, excuse me, I put my lights on about 3/4 of a mile back there. Why didn't you stop? With your hands on the wheel, simply say, officer, I was trying to make you safe. As you could see, there was nowhere for me to pull over back there. Just tell him the truth. Tell him or her the truth. There was nowhere for me to pull over back there. And I chose this spot because it is safe for the both of us, for me to have a conversation with you. And neither of us is at risk of getting hit or killed. There is not an officer in the universe that is going to start attacking you at that point. Okay? So you've stopped. Now the questions will begin. And the most favorite question that I get, that I've ever seen in my entire career, in over 2,500, if not 3,000 stops that we represented people on, and tens of thousands that I've looked into over the years. And that is, do you know why I pulled you over? Now, you know why that question is the most popular question? Because people naturally, by nature, we're honest. We think we're taught the truth will set you free. All I have to do is be honest with him or her, and they're just going to let me go. Or maybe write me a ticket, maybe like a small ticket. Maybe he's going to be favorable towards me because I told him the truth. Maybe. Hogwash. 9 out of 10 times, they're asking that question because in their mind, they already know what you did. And they're getting ready to write the ticket. They just want your confession, because if they have a confession, they have an admission, well, their work is all cut out for them. They don't need anything else. And especially if you admit to, what if you admit to a violation you didn't even know that the officer didn't know you committed? Oh, I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. Oh, okay, cool. So we got speeding and seatbelt violation. Thank you very much, driver. Don't be an idiot. Do not give them what they're searching for. Do not give them more than they're searching for. The simplest answer, do you know why I pulled you over? Either remain completely silent. At that point, there's no need to escalate or de-escalate the situation. You could choose the route of where we're about to go. Officer, I refuse to answer any questions without my lawyer present. I would say that's a little bit too premature. What you could say, do you know why I pulled you over? No, I don't. Or simply remain silent and stare at them, because eventually they will continue the conversation themselves. So eventually they may, let's say one of your passengers has been drinking and the officer detects the odor of alcoholic beverage. Now you are dead sober, hypothetically speaking. Maybe you have been drinking. It doesn't matter. The next question out of the officer's mouth, typically or usually, is going to be somewhere along the lines of, have you been drinking tonight? Especially if it's at nighttime, a stop after hours, after 10 o'clock, after 11, after midnight. Have you been drinking? Officer, I refuse to answer any questions without my lawyer present. Because if you say yes, you're probably going to go to jail no matter what. And if you say no and they can still smell the alcohol, well, now you're lying, and do not lie. That is absolutely the number one thing. They're allowed to lie to you. You are not allowed to lie to them, because that incriminates you further. And although you can't be charged with anything crazy like perjury, as some people may think, the reality is you still do not want to be deceptive on the side of the road, because remember, that camera is rolling. That camera is recording everything you say. And if you say no and then you change your answer to, well, maybe one, and then you change your answer to, well, maybe it was 3.5, and then you see where this is going. The chances of loss astronomically skyrocket. So the best policy is to first not answer, give absolute minimal, I don't know what's going on, I'm not answering any questions. And eventually, if the police officer continues to pry, officer, I prefer to have my lawyer present before I answer any further questions. And here comes one of my favorite responses of all time. Intelligent, experienced police officers will say, oh, well, come on, buddy. You know that only guilty people need lawyers. You look like an innocent young chap. Just tell me what I am asking for. Just tell me what I need to know. And now that flips the script. Now the officer is accusing you of being guilty of something you didn't even do. And again, the natural instinct, it's back to that same first question. Do you know why I pulled you over? Yes, officer, I was speeding. Please have mercy on my soul. You see what I mean? It's the same question. It's the same question phrased a different way. Only guilty people need lawyers. Officer, with all due respect, I would like my lawyer present before I answer further. And no, I'm not guilty of anything. Whatever, however else you want to pepper in the snarkiness of the officer's question, because it's a misnomer. It is not even a proper phrasing. A person can only be found guilty by a jury of 6 or 12, depending on if it's a district court case or a circuit court case. Anybody can be accused. I mean, look at what happened to Johnny Depp. He was accused of a most heinous crime. And even though it was not a criminal case, because there was no acquittal, it was a civil case, he ended up winning. He ended up winning because he sued and he won monetary damages because his name was smeared. So that's just one example. But let's get back to our stop. Again, it's a trap. Don't fall for it. Police officers' job is to make sure to get you to soften up and to confess to his or her questions. You have one word in your mind. You got your STOP acronym. You're going to have one more word, and that word is lawyer. I prefer not to answer any questions without my lawyer present. Now, at this point, the police officer will probably get frustrated with you, and one of two things will happen. One, they may let you go. Or two, they may ask you out of the car. More than likely, it's going to be the latter. Now, this one, you must comply. There's a lot of false information floating out there that you don't have to provide your driver's license. You don't have to get out of the car. Unfortunately, as an experienced criminal defense attorney, I can tell you it is extremely dangerous not to get out of the car. That's when guns get drawn and pointed, because police officers in America are not well trained and they are not well equipped to deal with disobedience. Now, verbal disobedience is one thing. When you begin your physical disobedience, now your life is in danger and you may get shot and killed by police. So when they ask you to get out of the vehicle, again, with your hands visible, make sure you never hide your hands anywhere, even if it's just to scratch the side of your leg or something. Do not hide your hands, okay? Make the officer as comfortable as possible. Just because you're being verbally non-compliant does not mean you also need to be physically non-compliant. That is where danger happens, okay? So get out of the car, and then will come the next phase of the investigation. They will ask for a driver's license, or they may have already asked for a driver's license. hand that over, because in the United States of America, you must have a valid driver's license in order to operate a motor vehicle, whether from a state or another country. Those must be turned over. Once you're out of the vehicle, the police officer may ask you to comply with the standardized field sobriety tests. Now, what are they? There are 3 standardized. There's the walk and turn, the one leg stand, and the horizontal gaze nystagmus. We're not going to go into too much depth, but suffice it to say that not in one of the 50 states in the United States of America is there a law that says you must comply with these tests. No police officer will ever tell you that. And if you ask them, they will deny it. These tests are 100%, without a shadow of a doubt, voluntary. Okay? You have the option whether or not you wish to comply, and you have the option whether or not you wish to deny. Comply or deny. Now, my advice on all of those field sobriety tests, the walk and turn, the one leg stand, and the horizontal gaze nystagmus, which is also known as the follow my finger test: refuse, refuse, refuse. Deny, deny, deny. Why? Number one, there's no consequence. There's no penalty. You will not be charged with a separate crime, and you will not be penalized for it on the side of the road or in court. A prosecutor may try to use that as consciousness of guilt argument. I have seen that, but it is fairly weak, because you're depriving, they don't like the fact that you're depriving them of evidence against you. And here's a little secret. Those tests are designed for you to fail. They are skewed to where even if you get a B++ or even an A-, according to the officer's training, you could theoretically show indicia of intoxication and still be arrested. Fancy term for don't do the tests. Next will come the preliminary breath test. That is this little handheld device that they will try to shove into your mouth. And sometimes they won't even ask you. They will simply kind of randomly just pop it all out and say, blow into this for me. And again, in all 50 states, there is no penalty, no consequence. And I believe universally, it's not admissible in court. Refuse, refuse, refuse. And you know what you're going to get as a result of all these refusals? You are going to get arrested. All right? Welcome to reality. You are going to get arrested. Those handcuffs are going to go on your nice, neat little wrists, and you are going to be spending the night in jail. There is not a lawyer in this universe that can give you advice that is going to keep you out of that cell for the night. However, everything that I have just told you, everything that I have just taught you, everything that I have just described, let's break down what you've just done. You did not admit to any crimes. You have no admissions to any violations. The officer doesn't have any confessions from you. They don't have any field sobriety tests. They don't have any indicia of intoxication. They don't have any field sobriety tests. They don't have a breath test. All they have is an arrest, possible bad driving, possible smell, glassy, bloodshot eyes. Those you cannot escape if they are a fact. Sometimes officers will still lie. But you have protected, this is your Fourth Amendment right of the Constitution in the United States of America. You have just protected your rights as a citizen, and you have just protected yourself from incriminating yourself to the government. Okay? Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. I practice in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, okay? And in Kentucky, we are permitted. We are one of the 39 states, and we're basically broken down into 2 categories. You have 39 on this side, and you have 11 on this side. 39 states say you can refuse the breath or blood test, and you will lose your license if you do so. 11 states say if you refuse, you will lose your license, and we're going to charge you with a separate crime. Okay? Kentucky falls into the 39 over here. Nebraska and Minnesota are the 2 that I have confirmation of. Those are 2 out of the 11. The other 9 you'll have to figure out on your own in your own jurisdiction. In the 39 states, My advice, including Kentucky, where I can give legal advice, my advice is to refuse the breath or the blood test. Now, they may still try and get a warrant and force you into a blood test. They can't really force you into a breath test. All you have to do is just not breathe. It's a forceful breath. It's not just like a regular, normal, inhale, exhale. But I have seen states where, for example, in Tennessee, where they will forcefully strap you to a gurney and extract your blood. Not all states are like that. Some states they will get a warrant and the warrant is completely useless. You can still refuse despite there's a judge order telling you you are to comply, and you can still say, well, I don't care. Kentucky being one of them. It is slowly eroding, but at least as we sit here today, it's kind of the law. Well, the breath test, like I said, at the side of the road, you can refuse without any consequence. But at the station in all 50 states, 100% of the states, you will lose your driving privileges. Now, in certain states like Kentucky, I can get you back on the road with something known as the ignition interlock device. We don't have to get into it. But suffice it to say, once again, the reason they're trying to punish you is because they know that they need that number. They want that number. That number is going to crucify you. That is going to help them convict you. Because I, as a lawyer, I can't put a machine on the stand. Have you ever tried cross-examining your cell phone? It's the equivalent of trying to cross-examine your cell phone and trying to have a conversation with your cell phone. You can't do it. You can't do it. Why? Because it's a machine. The intoxilizer is a machine. The intoximeter, the data master, whatever you have in your jurisdiction, okay? So you will lose your license. And like I said, check with your jurisdiction in those 11 states. Do not refuse. Also, if you're a commercial driver's license operator or a pilot in all 50 states, do not refuse. It basically boils down to this. It is not your job to prove your innocence. The Constitution protects you as a citizen of this great land. It is the job of a prosecutor to convict you, and the standard is beyond a reasonable doubt if you go to trial. Now, a lot of cases settle, so that standard never really comes to fruition. But it is the police and the prosecution in court who have to prove you are guilty of the offense charged beyond a reasonable doubt. Don't help them. Don't give them what they want. Don't give them the admissions, the field sobriety tests, the breath tests, the blood tests. If you fit the criteria that we previously discussed. Again, make sure to check your jurisdiction's laws, okay, as to which category you fall into. And again, to my young drivers, you're not superheroes. You don't have magical powers. Just knowing all of this stuff is not going to save your life if you're in a catastrophic accident. Do not drive under the influence. The easiest way, as I started this whole thing, to avoid an arrest, a charge, a stop, is to follow the laws. This is advice for all of you on the off chance that you get stopped. And remember, the police are not your friend. They're not there to protect and to serve. They're there to harass, collect, arrest, and convict. Remember that. Harass you, collect money, arrest you, and convict you in court. That is their job. That is their function. Okay? So the topics that I have covered are going to work if you are driving your best, and they are not meant to be an instructional video on how to get away with crimes. I will say to, again, my younger audience, the 18 and under, have a conversation with your parent or guardian about their thoughts. Watch this video with them. Show them this video. Tell them how to apply this, if you are to apply this in your own jurisdiction, and what they want you to do in your encounter with law enforcement. And of course, for specific legal advice, contact your personal attorney. You have the rest of your life ahead of you. Try not to screw it up while you're driving your car. Once again, my name is Larry Foreman. also known as the DUI guy. I thank you all for your time. I hope you learned something. And if you ever have any questions, please reach out, leave a comment in the video below. And I thank you for your time. Subscribe to my channel. And I hope to never have to talk to you in a professional setting. But if I do see you out somewhere, I hope to say hello. Just come up and don't be shy. I'm a very friendly individual, despite the appearance you may have received from this video. But remember, this is an instructional video, so I have to be stern, I have to be educational, and I have to be serious. So I hope you learned something, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care, everybody.